Hello, everybody. Welcome
Hello.
to Discover RPG, which means it's Monday, but we're here for you. But we have a very special guest today, live from returning to the field. We have GenCon
Man
correspondent,
on the street.
Special
GenCon
agent.
correspondent Devin.
Detective Devin.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back, Devin. I didn't even have to change a layout for you. We have yours ready to go.
I'm special. And I'm wearing a different shirt this time.
I'm so proud of you.
I have more than one shirt, I promise.
You bought it at GenCon, don't lie to us.
Not that we have that many viewers on at the moment, but I would like to reassure people that I did not just chug this much water in a millisecond. I had an empty glass. It just, the optical illusion was upsetting to me seeing in like the delay, and I went, oh no, no. Anyway, so how are you doing today, Devin? This evening?
I am good. I'm good. It's a nice
Or day,
chill,
I guess.
warm evening in undisclosed location in the Midwest.
Undisclosed location D, because we have A, B, and C here.
Exactly. No, I'm doing good. It's been about a week since I got back from GenCon, so I'm excited to kind of talk about it a little bit more on the show, and yeah.
Managed to avoid the two C's, concrete and COVID.
Oh, that's what they call it. I was calling it con cooties. Yeah, I didn't get sick, which I'm very thankful for. I go ahead, Allorah.
No, you're good. I think only one of our group got sick.
Nice. That's good.
Yes, I think so too.
Being safe.
Yeah, quite a few of us wore masks still. I was masked for a good portion of it, and I think that was definitely helpful. So.
We recommend safety to everyone.
Please.
Ka-chow.
I would like to share one piece of information, as I just got a text message from my person. Andy was at the doctor, and he was getting an MRI, which he's been trying to get for 6 months. And he wrote "oof" with like 7 O's. That was one of the most painful experiences I've had recently. I'm apparently, from a medical perspective, quite muscular, which meant that my body heated up quite significantly. They had to keep pausing between scans to let it cool down. I was on the table for more than an hour, unable to move, or we'd have to start over. And they were playing Christian rock for half of it. It was literally my version of hell.
It sounds like a copy pasta. Sounds like something you would just put into like a live stream chat randomly and see where you go from there.
Yep. But anyway, he's fine. He got out. He's moving again. He's glad to be moving.
He's no longer in Christian rock hell.
Entombed in Christian rock hell, unable to move. Anyway, just wanted to share that because it just came across my my feed and I thought it was funny. So let's chat a little bit. So with the successful health returning of the two of you, because you both went to GenCon, what do we want to talk about tonight? Any like really big highlight moments for you guys, or do you want to do like a general? What were your thoughts about how the con was run this year, how it was handled, all that? Sure.
So I thought it might be fun to kind of walk through our process of how we prepped for GenCon, and then because you specifically, Devin, did a lot of prep for GenCon, but and then kind of talking about each day and kind of what our thoughts and takeaways were from that. Sure. So walk us through. When did you decide to go to? No, just kidding. Just last minute, actually.
Well, so it's funny because actually it's a mutual friend of ours that brought up the idea of going to GenCon as a group. So like I can't take credit for that. Allorah can't take credit for that. That was another friend of ours that was like, let's go to GenCon.
So to clarify for our audience, you went together with a group. This was not a separate experience thing. You guys went at the same time. Okay, cool.
Right, and I think that's kind of speaking on Allorah's point about the planning. We went with a group of 9 people. So we had pretty much our whole gaming group, minus a few people, went to Gen Con, and we did it together. And I definitely think there were some positives, and there were definitely some things that I would do differently next year. But yeah, we had I've always wanted to go to Gen Con since I started in the hobby way back in, 2016, 2017. I'd heard about Gen Con. I never had the opportunity to go until this year. And that was pretty cool. But we knew, because we had such a large group, that doing a little bit of planning ahead of time ideally would save us some headaches. So, I mean, I don't know how detailed you want me to go with this, Allorah, but we had a spreadsheet. We had itineraries for people.
It was a trip involving Allorah. I'm not surprised there was a spreadsheet. It's an important aspect of it.
Listen here.
I said nothing negative, only that it existed. That's all I said.
Allorah
I
and
think
I
it's
are
great.
shaking hands.
We should offer the spreadsheet on Patreon, truly. It's a grand thing.
the group vacation budget and scheduling tool.
Yeah.
You joke, but it's so real.
No, I believe you. I mean, I've seen it. I have seen it with my eyes. Yeah. So I believe it.
Well, and I think, we actually, I think another reason why planning was such a big focus for our group was because we actually kind of decided to go pretty late. There are some folks who plan for Gen Con like year round.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know of some people, I'm in a few Discord servers where people are planning, and like there's signups that will happen for things in January. And we had decided in like late May, early June, maybe mid-June, to go. So we were kind of coming into it pretty late. And there was a lot of things we wanted to hit. I think different people had different plans. Some people just wanted to go shopping. Other people wanted to go to the many different events that took place. So that was part of the struggle for sure, was kind of figuring all of that out.
Something that I liked that we kind of did was when we did start planning everything, we kind of had to sit down and kind of spoke what like our intentions were going to the con. And I'd shared this with Devin, but like I've been to several conventions before, not necessarily like a gaming convention, but and I'd always gone by myself. And to speak to that, I hated it. It was the absolute worst experience going by myself. Because I was super young at the time too, so like I didn't really feel comfortable like going up to strangers and being like, "Hey, can I hang out with you?" kind of thing. So, but going with a big group and stuff like that, there was definitely like opportunity to get to spend time with each other, and then also like get to do what we all individually kind of wanted to do.
Well, and it was nice too, because there was we had kind of a buddy system going on where, for the most part, you always were with someone else, or if you were alone, it wasn't for very long, which is also nice, because also like, I have, my partner Liz, and we could have gone to Gen Con and done the whole thing together, but like maybe sometimes I wanted to do something that Liz didn't want to do. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So we were able to kind of, split and then converge at different points, which was super cool. I think there wasn't really many points where all 9 of us worked together. I don't think during the con that ever happened. It was more at after hours, like when we were getting food and things like that, where we were together as a group.
I think the most of us that were together at a time was when we went to Subway.
I was not there for that.
I think you and Liz were off doing something, but I think you two were the only ones that weren't there.
We went to a food truck for lunch instead of Subway. So
it was probably better than my sandwich, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of decisions to make. We also, folks in our group are at differing, means. I don't know how else to put that. So a big part for us was trying to make this trip affordable for people too. So we did the Airbnb. That was my first time doing an Airbnb. I have many thoughts. I think based on what I've heard, we had a good Airbnb experience compared to some other Airbnbs that I've heard about. But it was definitely more financially viable than going to a hotel because we were coming into it so late. We actually got very lucky finding a spot for lodging that was as close as it was for the cost that it was at. So, Allorah, tell me your thoughts though. You kind of cringed at the idea of saying we had a good Airbnb experience.
So for those of you that know me, I love to plan trips. Obviously, I have a spreadsheet and everything like that. But I've always handled the Airbnb experience. The fact that there were bugs in the toilet paper was not an ideal. But overall the Airbnb was very nicely decorated. The owner seemed really nice. They seemed very attentive considering they came over the first night that we were there to check out an issue. I think that Ryan had said something about or something like that. But so in that respect, super awesome, very nice, well communicated, I guess, from what I understand. But the structure of the Airbnb was not well made. We got there and half of us couldn't find this fire alarm, not a fire alarm, but the smoke alarm,
CO2 detector.
That was going off, and it was low on batteries. And finally I hunted it down and I took out the batteries because I was like, we're not dealing with this all weekend. But I've also planned trips that were like 15 plus people for very long periods of time, and there are pros and cons, I feel like, to every Airbnb. I did really like the fact that our people were pretty chill, the owners and stuff like that, for the most part, from what I understand. Because I remember, I think I asked you Saturday evening, I was like, are there any like rules or anything like that for packing up? And you're like, nope, just leave. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I've never had that.
They had 2 rules for checkout. They said take all of your belongings and put all of your trash in the kitchen. And that was our checkout process, was just take your things back and just we'll take care of everything else, which was interesting as someone who used to work in managing a housing, a building. That was unusual, but it was easy for us. So
yeah. So I definitely thought there were pros and cons to it. I definitely want to look at the Airbnb scene for next year a little bit, just because I am a picky bitch when it comes to Airbnbs. And
also
stuff like
can
that.
Confirm.
Listen,
again, not
Angela may or may not have been on that 15-person plus trip, but no, I have very high standards for my Airbnb, so I am also probably not the best person to ask about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was fun. I enjoyed it because I think I think there were just kinks that we needed to figure out and stuff like that. But I definitely think we know what to look for in the future. Yeah, especially if we're going to be staying longer too in the future.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. We did Saturday and our group did Saturday and Sunday only. One of two of the folks in our group had planned to do things on Friday night, but they ended up coming in late. But next year, I think if we want to do this, I think the consensus with our group was we should try to see if we could do the full 4 days. And even in addition to that, GenCon offers something called Trade Day, which is available for people who work in education, which includes myself and a lot of folks in our group, which is kind of like a workshop professional development conference the day before GenCon starts. And that's something I would be interested in as well. So I think the really cool thing is like you really have this wide range of, there's so much stuff at GenCon. I feel like we really just scratched the surface. It was like, for me at least, it was a lot of like event hall stuff, buying stuff, which nothing wrong with a little bit of retail therapy. And then also demoing some games. I think that was like the big thing for me. But like, it was super exciting to see like there were some new releases there. And some of the lines for some demos were insane to me. Disney has a trading card game that's out or coming out called Lorcana that had lines that were going like around the convention center. It was wild to me. I wanted to check out the Avatar Legends RPG, and the line was too long. I think I went with you, Allorah.
Yeah, it was right.
We decided that the line was too long. Yeah,
I think I have a preview of it. I think.
One of the girls in my first seminar was talking about the Avatar RPG, and it sounded really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you say game previews, you're specifically talking tabletop games.
There were some board game demos as well,
Okay.
But I would say the things I was interested in, the things I was looking at, was more tabletop. There was also a very big, trading card games is not my scene, but I respect that it is the scene for a lot of people. And there was definitely, like, if you're into Magic the Gathering,
it is,
or
yes, it definitely has a place.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely was overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff to do at GenCon. And I like, and kind of on the preparation side of things still, when we were planning what we were doing, the GenCon website actually does a very good job of kind of laying out different groups that are going to be there, what events are going to be there, and everything like that. And so we were kind of able to like pick and choose, and they do this thing in your account where they basically drop all your tickets, and if they're electronic tickets, even if they're paper tickets, though, it still gives you like your schedule and stuff like that, which is really awesome. And so I really enjoyed that factor of Gen Con quite a bit, just because I like to know what I'm doing from time to time to time. And so it definitely helps me manage my day a little bit better.
Well, and I was curious because, actually the two of us, we haven't really sat down and talked about our experiences, like the two of us together. I know you've spoken with some folks, I've spoken with some folks, but I'm curious to hear from you what your favorite moment was and what your weirdest moment was. Because I know what my weirdest moment was, and you were there with us too. I also have my favorite moment, but I want to hear from you because we spent more time together on Sunday, but on Saturday there wasn't a ton that the two of us did together.
Tell me yours first while I think about what mine are.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the weirdest thing. I don't even know if weird is the right way to put it. One of the things we wanted to do while we were there was demo games, and there's a huge demo hall full of a ton of different board games, card games, tabletop games that are available. And Allorah and I and a couple other of our friends were like, hey, let's check out this board game. It looks interesting. I've heard about it before. There's a reference there that I'm familiar with. Let's check it out. We get there, and this is good information for anyone who hasn't gone to Gen Con. When you demo a game, you need to have a ticket to demo. And if you don't, you have to use a generic ticket, which is $2. So there were 4 of us in our group, so it's $8 to demo this game. And the instructor didn't know how to play the game, basically. I don't want to be so bold to suggest that, but I was so confused on what was going on, and we had clarifying questions that they didn't have answers to, and it wasn't really until Liz actually started reading the rules that we had a good understanding of what was going on. But then we wanted to play. We were excited. We're like, all right, let's give it a try. We'll see what happens. And our instructor, kept coming back and was like, do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts? Things you want to talk about?
Very much hovering.
And it was just like, no. I want to play this game with my friends. So that was my weirdest experience. I don't want to say worst because there was nothing necessarily
felt a little
bad.
like there were people on two-way glass watching and taking notes on you, but they're right in your face.
It kind of felt that way. I mean,
it was, yeah.
I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a cool concept in general. It's something that I'd like to play again without somebody over my shoulder asking me if I have questions. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. That was a weird moment.
Yeah.
My weird moments, I don't think anybody was there for these. These were big solo experiences. But I went to 2 different, I went to the Orc license Q&A, and I had an individual game on Sunday that I went to. And both times I had small groups of people starting to yell at each other across me.
By individual game, you didn't mean a demo of a solo game. You just meant like an actual game session.
Yeah, so I
Okay,
played,
I was like, people yelling at a solo game? What the hell?
no, so it was specifically in the Orc license Q&A. There was a moment where somebody basically tried to correct one of the speakers, and everybody around me turned and started bombarding this man, and like somebody pulled out their phone to like look up the definition. They go, no, it's illegal, and like I just was like sitting there and I was just like, okay. This is what's happening.
Sit your ass down.
If you're interested, I think they recorded it and put it online, so it's all there. But the questions that were asked were very, very well done. The speakers were super nice. And I'm just going to talk on the Orc license for 2 seconds and then I'll move on. But something that I really, really liked that I didn't actually know about was that they're bringing in different countries' influence to it, which is not something that had been previously talked about too much with the creative, with the original OGL. So I think that's really awesome. They had their German liaison there, and he kind of talked about some stuff, which I thought was really awesome. So that was my takeaway from that. With my game, I had the man sitting next to me quite literally call the other guy a son of a bitch and a bastard, and told him that he wasn't going to fucking argue with him over a bunch of stuff. It was a good time. I was very awkward in those moments. But so those were definitely my my weird moments.
Yeah.
I think my memorable moment kind of is that what you said, memorable, or
just like favorite moment, or just
my favorite moment. Sure. Honestly, and this might sound a little cheesy, but I really appreciated when you walked around with me in the exhibit hall and we kind of just wandered. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like pressured to like I'm going here to look for this thing or I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And just kind of getting to hang out and just do stuff was kind of chill and just talk. So
what was the vibe of the scene at the con? Was it like super big and overwhelming?
This was the biggest Gen Con ever. It has continued to grow.
They're only
every
gonna
year with the
I was gonna say
of the COVID years.
It was so wild though, because there were so many like big name people there, and like half of us didn't know about it. Like
Brendan Lee Mulligan was there.
He got kidnapped at a bar. that didn't actually happen. There was a TikTok about it though. I think Matt Mercer was there, and like nobody knew about it.
That was kind of a leak, because he didn't post it. My understanding is he didn't say he was there, but he took a picture with someone with a Gen Con badge on, and that's how people found out. I could be completely wrong on that.
That sounds right, though. Jenny D was there, and I didn't actually know about it until Sunday afternoon, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna get to go.
And actually, speaking about people being there, like influencers and celebrities and stuff in the space, something so crazy. I went to the I forget the name of the group. I went to a booth and there was someone working there that was volunteering, and they were like someone I follow on Twitter for like tabletop role playing things. And I was like, I didn't know you like were gonna be here. I didn't know that you work for this company. And they're like, I don't, I'm just volunteering. Which I thought was super cool. I think there was like a lot of excitement around in the event hall, especially like, you know, people were it was like very busy. People were moving in and out. And I think like you kind of need to go in with like a purpose, you know, and even if that's just, I want to hit these booths and I want to make sure I get these products, you know, I think that's fine too. But I think like if I came in with like no plan of what I want to get, I would feel pretty overwhelmed. But like going back to your story, Allorah, like I know, and this might be kind of a takeaway for you, because I know it kind of was for me as I was planning. I noticed you had signed up for a lot of different like workshops and seminars and things like that. And like I love that, and I want to do more of that next year. But I think spacing it out would be really good too, because I remember when I went with you, you were like, this is my first time being in the exhibit hall, and it was like Sunday, right? Or was it like Saturday afternoon?
It was Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I'll come with you. Like, I don't have an issue with that. And like, I think the thing that I really like about going with a big gaming group is when we can pair up into different groups. Like, Allorah obviously knows about some products and some publishers and some groups that I don't know about, and vice versa. So like I was just kind of walking around and like following Allorah to the things she wanted to see, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing that existed. I didn't know that was a product. And that was really interesting because when I was at the event hall in the morning on Saturday, I was by myself, and I was like, I'm going to Paizo, and then I'm going to Free League, and then I'm going to go to Stonemeyer, and then I'm going to go to Direwolf, and I'm going to do all of these things by myself. I'm like, I'm glad I went when I did because I got all of the things, almost all of the things that I knew I wanted to get. But after I was done with that, I was like, well, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah, no, sorry, continue, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think that's part of the fun. And, like, we have, I'm curious if you will know who I'm talking about, Allorah. We have a friend who seems to, like, just strike gold with board games. Like, every board game that she knows about these games that, like, I've never heard of. I've never heard of these publishers or these authors. And she's like, I really want to get this game. It's going to sell out. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard of this, and it's getting sold out. Like, I'm so curious about this.
Did I tell you what I did with her? I gave her my debit card and I set her loose on Sunday, and I said, go find me something.
That's funny. That's honestly a really good idea. Is like, well, and I wonder almost if we could do something next year where it's almost like kind of a gift exchange of like everyone can buy someone something they think they would like.
We could do like a white elephant kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or a secret Santa sort of thing.
Yeah, or just just sort of like a gift exchange. Because you want to buy it for someone specific and not.
Yeah, I think just so we're not spending hundreds of dollars.
Have a limit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
like a $20 limit. Don't buy more than $20 worth of stuff or whatever.
It's really funny. Real quick, sorry. I'm like drawing in the background while I'm listening to everyone talk. So I'm like spacing out, like listening to a podcast. What?
I'm gonna be working on Hero Forge while we do it.
Oh yeah. No, I'm drawing one of my guys. But like so I went to Gen Con in 2018, then I went in 2019 with a larger group. So that was the last time I went to Gen Con. It is just so interesting to hear you guys talk about it because some things are so similar, some things are so different. What did you think of the convention center itself?
It's huge. I was so caught off guard by that. I didn't learn that there were real maps to the convention center until Sunday afternoon. And I would have benefited so much from that. I was using my phone the whole time.
Yeah, I will say, like, I've been to a lot of like professional conferences and conventions in a lot of different states, a lot of different areas. So I'm familiar with like the general atmosphere and vibe of these larger, like, you could almost call Gen Con like a trade show of sorts in some ways. So like that I was familiar with, but like the Indiana Convention Center, I mean, they used the whole thing, and they used the Lucas Oil Stadium too. They had the whole thing for this one event, and I think that was really surprising for me to see. And I think something that I noticed is they've been at this venue for a long time, and they just renewed their contract to stay at the Indiana Convention Center for another 5 years. And I can see why, because I think when we first got there, I was like, where do I go? What am I doing? I'm so confused. But I think for folks who are regulars who go every year, or not even every year, but like every couple of years, having that familiarity with where everything is at is super helpful, because I think just getting oriented on the first day was a bit of a challenge. And I was like, where am I supposed to stand and wait for the exhibit hall to open? And then I needed to think about it for a minute, and I was like, oh, I need to go over here. But like first I was looking at maps online. That wasn't being very helpful. And then I was looking at like printout maps, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit better. So you kind of have to parse it together. But like I think the convention center, I mean, it's big, it's clean. At least my experience was that it was very clean, very busy, just full of people. I think that was like the big thing for me. I know we talked about Airbnbs a little bit a while ago. There's a lot of hotels that are connected to the convention center via a skywalk. And they even have workshops and seminars and things at those hotels during the event as well. So there's a lot of walking involved. There's a lot of space. But it's kind of necessary because of how just the sheer volume of activities and things to do at the event, it's crazy. It was a lot.
Yeah, Liz brings up a really good point. Indianapolis, just in general, is like right in the center of the Midwest, so it is very central too, which is very nice. But to Devin's point with other people, just being familiar and everything, I know I met a GM who basically said that he's been there for the last 37 years, and the ones that and so in the recent years when they recently like moved to Indy and everything as well, he's had the same room all that time for his game and stuff like that, which I think is super cool. So there's a level of just like consistency too, which is really nice. But yeah, no, I agree. I think I was much more oriented the second day. I will say the gaming hall and exhibit hall still confused the hell out of me, but I think those are one of the things where like that just comes into planning, because in that perspective, Devin and I were definitely on very opposite sides of the spectrum. Devin went in knowing what he wanted, and I had no clue, and I was just like, I'm gonna walk around. Did I tell you Mark Miller was there, and I'm so mad about it because we missed him. But I found out Sunday morning and stuff like that when I couldn't go back to the booth and stuff like that. But I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
I am actually I don't like that convention center.
Okay.
I also don't like Indianapolis in general. I have disliked going there every time I've had to go there. I hate the way the roads are set up. I also have personal beef with Indiana, considering I grew up in Illinois.
Personal or generational beef?
Cultural.
Regional beef.
There you go.
Regional beef. Also, there was a controversy after the 2019 Gen Con where the convention center staff, not the Gen Con staff, the convention center staff were not allowing trans people to use the bathroom of their choice.
Cool.
So that was even before a lot of this anti-trans legislation was coming up, right? It had just started around that time, 2018, 2019. There's this big controversy where, at the time people are like, oh, like Gen Con needs to get out of Indianapolis, and there needs to be something done about the fact that so much of our community is trans or otherwise queer. At the time, it's sort of like they have at least another 5 years on their contract. They can't just pull out like that.
Yeah.
And it does make sense from a business perspective that they renewed it. But I truly wonder. There was never a lot of follow up after that regarding, because it wasn't just like one incident; it was multiple instances over the 4 days.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge thing. Like obviously it was convention center staff and not Gen Con staff.
I will say, I'll speak to the Gen Con staff. They were all very attentive. Specifically, the one lady were very attentive to us and everything like that. But like to speak on that, obviously, like the cleanliness and stuff too. Like that was what Devin mentioned earlier was great.
When I went into the bathrooms, I was shocked. I was like, this is clean, and like I don't feel like I'm walking in a germ cesspool at a convention of 70,000 people. Like I live in a town of 70,000 people, and we're at this convention, and I was amazed. I was like, this is great. But obviously my experience is not going to be everyone's experience.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but yeah, similar vein for me as well, Devin. I will say, I can't speak on obviously like the trans experience at Gen Con, but I didn't hear of any instances, but that doesn't mean that they didn't happen this year.
Right. I mean, it definitely could have been addressed after 2019, where it's like, hey,
which
listen,
I hope it would have been.
Yeah, especially because like Gen Con, the convention center is a private establishment, so they are allowed to set their own rules on what happens. And I feel like Gen Con as an organization is big enough to be like, your staff need to be trained on XYZ, and they cannot do these things, they can throw their weight around and say these are the conditions of this. Because like I said, so much of the TTRPG and just like adjacent communities like Magic the Gathering, trading card games, board games, so queer and general trans.
There was a lot of promotional material, and Liz, feel free to pipe in the chat and stuff like that, because I know you actually grabbed some, but there was actually a lot of promotional material for like for LGBTQ plus people. I know that they even had like little things where like you could display your pronouns and everything like that too, that you could have like on your badge and everything like that. They actually
the
had
flags.
they had little pronouns. They actually had pronouns on the badges this year, which I was really appreciative of.
Oh, that's really cool.
So
yeah, they had little flags that said either gamer with a GAY or like ally, and you can put your pronouns on there. And I thought that was really cool at the time. It's cool they're actually incorporating it into the badges.
Yeah,
I would go get my badge, but it's actually at my work. It's hanging up. But yeah, it was super cool. And I think another thing that I think Gen Con is so fun for like when I was growing up, I was really into like video games, and E3 was always such an exciting thing because news about new products and new games would come out. Now E3 doesn't exist anymore, which I find funny. But like Gen Con, there was also some news about new releases and upcoming releases. And I was sharing a little bit before the show, like I'm working on a Pathfinder campaign. Never played Pathfinder before, brand new to the system. But Paizo announced that Starfinder is getting a second edition, and I had just wrapped up a Starfinder campaign about a month ago in first edition, and Starfinder second edition is going to be 100% cross-compatible with Pathfinder, so you can have wizards in space, or you can have operatives in Fantasyland. You can have space monks. Or you can have, I'm trying to think of a class in Starfinder. They have an envoy in Starfinder, which is like a more diplomatic, like royalty person. You have that in your Pathfinder games now. I thought that was so cool. So that was a super hype release and information. So I'm curious if there was any new products or new releases or news, Allorah, that you were like particularly excited about or interested in. But that was something I took away that I was like, this was super cool, that I got the chance to see like a new release of an edition of a game that I really love. That was really cool.
So there were a couple things regarding the org license that kind of addressed the release of the Pathfinder stuff, which I thought was really interesting. So I was excited to hear about that. Because there was definitely some hot takes on how much they were going to include due to the fact of the OGL actually going into Creative Commons. So the fact that they can use that stuff, but also like out of moral integrity, are they going to use it kind of thing? So I definitely, if you guys are interested in that stuff, I definitely recommend going to listen to the talk. And if you can't find it, just hit me up. I will send it to you. But I really like, I mean, I feel like I'm going to sound just really generic saying this. I really liked seeing all of the products. The things that I was really excited for were some of the Kickstarter items that some of our friends had sent us, and I know we as a network were kind of talking about. One specifically was the Obajima stuff.
Yes!
And it's so cute. It's like Studio Ghibli meets...
They said it was like Legend of Zelda was kind of the other touch point. Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that and to come out and everything like that. So definitely was really cool too. And I think you were with me when we stopped by that booth and everything like that.
Yeah,
but,
I was.
Even just like getting to see different like systems and stuff like that. I know I'm more into like the kind of like post-apocalyptic style RPGs and stuff like that. And so there was one that we found, I believe, I don't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but it was about like
super cool
post like plague kind of stuff, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
And it had like this whole book that was laid out, and even Traveler has gotten up some new stuff, which was kind of cool to see, just from like a personal respect.
Cool.
They have a software where you can build your character in it and see if you die in character creation, and Devin and I got to do that, which was
Oh
fun.
my god.
I survived. So
I
Nice.
did not.
but yeah, no, that was definitely really fun. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, but like just the sheer amount of stuff that was there was kind of interesting too. Like there's something for everyone at Gen Con, even if you're not super into TTRPGs. I know a couple of our other friends went to quite literally a retro game like arcade and stuff like that for part of their day.
Oh yeah, I've seen things
which
like
is
that.
super cool. And like there's also like just board games. I think there were even video game aspects too. I think that was right outside the exhibit hall, and everything like that. And I just thought that was so cool. And like even cosplayers were there and stuff like that too, which I was a little unsure of how much we were going to see of that sort of thing, but it seemed to be a pretty big community overall into that. And I know we've actually talked vaguely about doing something like that next year. So
Yep. I think it's just such a cool, like, I mean, the reality is, like, you can buy these board games and tabletop role-playing games online or at your local store. But I think a really cool draw of Gen Con is you get to directly support creators and publishers and people
Yeah, absolutely.
directly by buying stuff at their booths, which I think is really neat. You know, it's I try to avoid shopping online for things when I can, because I want to see the whole thing be supported if I can. You know, so I thought that was cool. And it's also just, it's a fun excuse to hang out with your friends and with your gaming group and try out new things. One of my highlights was on Sunday, I played a Pathfinder demo, a 1-hour Pathfinder demo. And it was really funny because I've been like watching a lot of YouTube videos about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And I was on the car ride up, I was talking with two of our friends. And I was like, let me tell you about the math in Pathfinder and why it's different than the math in 5th edition. And then we go to play, and like it was really cool to see that play out on a table, which I think was a really neat experience. Another thing I have like around me at my desk, so just a couple of things that I got from the con. This resin die, it has koi fish in it.
Awesome.
It's pretty big. I will get this is a regular D20 for scale, so it's quite large.
Oh my gosh.
Sharp edge resin die. It's beautiful. More of a statement piece, more of a decorative item than a thing I actually plan to roll at the table. These are dice, but these are actually silicone dice. So this is actually something for you. The idea is you can hold it while you're playing online court, and it don't make no roll. I think it's cool. And also D4s as silicone dice are nice because they actually bounce a little bit. So you like get a bit of a better roll for a D4, because normally you roll a D4 and it just kind of slides. These bounce, which is kind of cool.
That's good.
To reiterate what Devin said, you were having a little bit of network connectivity issues, but the silicone dice were are essentially oh gosh, I had what I was gonna say because we've talked about it. They're really soft. They're super great, but they don't make noise when you roll them, which for people with like sensitivity.
Oh, sure. If you're like on video, on stream, having your microphone is definitely helpful too.
Yeah. So I think that's a really cool aspect. Yeah, the internet does not like Devin's computer. But
whoops.
But yeah, no, you let me try those out and stuff like that when you got them, and those are so cool. They're good for the brain juices.
I also just wanted to brag about so other news for folks. Again, I promise. Well, I can't promise, but hopefully this is the last time I bring up Pathfinder, because I don't want to sound like I'm beating that horse.
And I technically put us in the D&D category tonight, so...
Yeah,
No,
I don't
it's
want to
fine.
ruffle any feathers.
No.
But they're releasing a updated version of their player's handbook kind of product.
Yeah.
So I didn't get any of that while I was there, but I did get these soft cover bestiaries that I got
Mhm.
spiral bound at my local print shop. And I
That's
think this is going to be
awesome.
so much fun for game night, being able to kind of lay this flat, which I was super excited about. So those are just some of the things that I got at Gen Con that I was really happy about. There were things that I really wanted that were sold out by the time I got there on Friday or on Saturday, which I was really upset about. But, what are you going to do?
We're gonna be
Yeah.
prepared next year. It's gonna be great.
There you go.
Exactly.
But yeah. Did you guys have any specific questions about Gen Con or anything else that
I just like hearing about people's experiences at cons. I don't go to a ton of them, but like in the before times, I had started dipping my toe in. I got to go to Rose City Comic Con in Portland a couple of times, and that was really, really fun. That's run by the same company that does San Diego Comic Con, but they have managed to make it feel like a small town con, which is really cool. Just because of the types of activities that they were doing there, just felt a little bit less overwhelming as far as events were concerned. I really, really enjoyed that. So I mostly just like hearing. Well, you guys already talked about like you have plans for next time, so it was overall a positive enough experience that you want to try again.
absolutely. Something that does live rent free in my head.
No.
So there wasn't a lot of places to sit down and stuff like that. So you would have to sit on the floor on the edge of the convention center. Devin, I think you were the one who said that like people like had these little like pop-up chairs that they brought, which I think is so cool.
Oh yeah, I've seen stuff like that.
But
yeah, they had these like collapsible stools that people would sit on.
Mhm.
That was so cool.
They cast chair. Conjure chair.
I was actually going to ask, like, I know it's not something that people always think about if you're not part of the group, but accessibility in like different factors, like if we're talking about like neurodivergent or physical
having like
abilities.
quiet rooms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, developmental disabilities. I know obviously as a convention, not everything is going to be good for everyone, but in general, how would you rate it, or how would you like discuss it? Ways they can
Did you
improve,
guys?
things you noticed?
Sure. Did you notice anything offhand that was around?
Yeah. So
I would say, you go ahead, Allorah. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, go. You go first, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. I will say that Gen Con was less than average when it came to accessibility than I would hope. But I would say in comparison to other large conventions, probably about the same. They do have quiet rooms at Gen Con. I was not familiar with where they were or how to get there. That wasn't something I was thinking about. I will say, I don't have my keys with me. I have reusable earplugs, and I wore those for most of the con.
Nice.
Which is something that I would recommend that folks who have, maybe some, especially hearing issues, but like sensory issues in general, could be something to look into. I mean, I'm sure there were elevators. I didn't see any. I saw a lot of escalators, which isn't great for people with mobility impairments. It's loud in there.
To some degree, that's a convention center issue rather than a con issue, but yeah.
Right. Well, and I did see a few folks who were blind that were walking around with like people in their group. So it's not like unheard of, but I mean, it's tough. I think they definitely could have done better in that respect, and I'm always kind of trying to look out for those things.
Yeah. And Liz dropped it in chat too, but I did also see elevators to the different floors and everything like that. I did see also a lot of escalators and everything like that. They did have an accessibility booth for so you could stop there if you had special needs and stuff like that. I definitely think there should have probably been more of them around the convention center instead of just one.
Yeah.
There may have been, but I didn't see another one. But I will say, overall, I did see quite a few people with disabilities there, visible disabilities, I should say, that seem to have a lot of aid in that respect. And I would also say, and maybe you had different experience than I did, Devin, but people at staff at GenCon I found were very easy to access should I need anything. So I think
Nice.
that would definitely be a highlight in accessibility. Also, the main entrance had a wheelchair walk up, I'm pretty sure too, which I liked as well.
Great.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
I mean, as far as the minimum ADA compliant things, they had their bases covered. But I think, and this is more to Franz's point a little while ago, gaming as a hobby is a big tent, and you typically find folks at the margins in gaming spaces. So
Yeah.
given that, I think
Yeah.
they could have done better. But overall, I thought it was decent, mediocre.
I mean, like you said, a lot of that it falls under the convention center versus the event itself. And again, we
Right.
come back to Indianapolis, local infrastructure never been very friendly in general. Again, I just don't like personal beef. I don't like Indianapolis. I didn't like going there. But I'm always very interested in that because I hate escalators. I am so scared of heights. I hate escalators. I'm like you said, escalators are good because they turn into stairs when they're broken. But
That's fair.
Stairs. There were stairs next to the escalators. We had one of our group that has a similar issue actually. And so we
scared of escalators. I'm so scared they're gonna eat me is the thing. Like I'm scared of heights and I'm scared they're gonna eat me, and I hate when things are moving underneath me.
Fair.
I will always take the elevator or the stairs when given the option. So I'm always interested in see those things because yeah, I don't have a lot of physical disabilities. Mine are more neurodivergence and sensory issues. But my husband is disabled. And it's something that I've just been thinking about more since I've been with him is that okay, he has to have a cane. We might be looking at other mobility devices going forward. It's how are we going to navigate this space?
Yeah. Yeah, those are really important considerations, and that is an issue of, advocacy and lobbying efforts to get spaces like that. I think Devin, you had a really good point about the anything that has such a online presence, you are going to find a large contingent of people from the edges of different demographics. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for people in those spaces who are organizing these kind of events to keep that in mind, and it's not always at the top of their priority list. And again, that's where advocacy and sort of teaching that is important. I suspect it'll get it if people continue to be pushing for it. I suspect it'll improve, but it does require vigilance to keep that from being thrown to the wayside.
I would hope that
Agreed.
would too. Yeah. What I guess with that all being said, what are things that you think that we should change for next year? Because I know we had a lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
We can start back in prep and then move our way through again.
Well, I don't know whose idea this was at first, but I think decentralizing the planning and kind of more planning around smaller pods of people and then planning for larger meetups might be a better strategy, because I think I was reflecting on this. I think there were some in our group that really just wanted to go and hang out and weren't really interested in making this like, I think for some people planning is a chore. It's something they're not interested in. It's something that like they just want to go have fun and be spontaneous, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know if I want to have a good time, and I think you and I are alike in this respect, Allorah, if I want to have a good time, I need to know as much as I can before, I need to know what I'm getting myself into. So I think
I like to have a
decentralizing
schedule.
the planning where, you say, you, me, Liz, and another one of our friends, we could rent out a 4-person space, whether it be a hotel or an Airbnb, and we'll plan together as that team of 4. We'll still find time to meet with a larger group of people. I think that's going to lead to some more satisfaction. I think ultimately, like, my planning philosophy might have negatively impacted some people's experience, and I don't want that, and I don't think our friends would really like say I did anything wrong. They're very polite, very kind people, but I could tell there was some I don't know if hurt feelings is the right word to use, but some
Frustrations.
dissatisfaction, some frustration. I think that's a good way of putting it.
I've
So that's
had,
like a big thing for me.
I've had similar feedback when I've mass planned things too,
Yeah.
so I definitely understand that.
And
I think
nothing wrong with that. It's just
go
different
ahead.
needs.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you, Devin. I think in general for me, having in the intention of having smaller groups doing stuff and then meeting back up as a big group is much more appealing to me than a massive organization, just because of the sheer labor it requires.
Sure.
For people.
This isn't GenCon, but I'm going to reflect really quickly on one of our trips that we've done. We had 15 people, and I mentioned this earlier, 15 people in a very, I wouldn't say it was a large space. It was probably medium space at best, but there was definitely a need for quiet time that was not able to be had.
Right.
And stuff like that, especially, and ours was over the course of 2 weeks, so that's a little bit of obviously on a grander scale, but a week for some, 2 weeks for me. I was very tired after that trip. But
Could imagine.
But even over 2 days, I mean, and trying to squish so much stuff, and so I definitely agree with you and see the benefit of that. I definitely think that there are ways to navigate those certain situations, because I don't disagree, because I think I know what you're talking about specifically, but I don't disagree with some of the points that were brought up there, but I also think that there's a level of convenience when you're planning for everybody that has to be reached, just so you're hitting all the marks, like people are fed, people are watered, people have a sleeping place,
exactly,
they get sunshine,
and that's why I also think which is why I also think having
gardens.
those smaller pods, I think, can be really helpful. Of, it's less on the mind, and people can look out for themselves, and we can still get together and do the fun things. And I think then it also opens up an opportunity to invite more people in your circle to go. Just say like, hey, find a couple people you want to go with. We'll find a time to meet up, hang out, have a good time. Maybe we all do a big dinner or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think something for me that like I'm really interested in is volunteering for next year. I don't think this is something everyone in our group is really interested in, but it is something I'm definitely interested in. Paizo specifically, here I go bringing up Pathfinder again. But Paizo offers this, you can apply to be a GM for some of their demos. And if you do enough of them, they'll pay for your whole trip, depending on how much you do. Which I think is really cool. And it's an application, so it's not like everyone gets in. You still have to like apply. But I'd be interested in looking at that incentive and that program as a way to, first of all, offset some costs, but also connect myself to the board gaming community in a different way. So that's another takeaway of mine.
Do you know if that's Paizo specific or if it was over the course of different TTRPG systems?
I'm sure other groups offer different incentive programs. I'm only familiar with Paizo's because that's the only one I'm interested in. But I'm sure they have other groups, or like I mentioned, there was a Twitter influencer that I met there that I follow that they were volunteering at a booth. I'm sure they got some kind of incentive, whether it's swag or what have you. I don't know. But I think just that like civic involvement, I think is super cool. That's another takeaway for me. Trying to think. What about you, Allorah? What are some of your takeaways?
I coming back to the schedule thing. I think definitely spacing out seminars and different things like that. So a big chunk of our group, if not all, have at least worked in higher ed at some point. And I felt like I was at a conference for higher ed for the first day, just because I was running from thing to thing. And I actually, I was sitting down with Devin in my break, and I think I even chatted to you about and decided not to go to my last thing because I was just so tired.
Well, yeah, that is a huge skill you have to develop, is pacing yourself and knowing, and sometimes it is a bit of a crapshoot to know what's actually going to turn out to be the most valuable use of your time. Because some people are definitely going as a fan, they just want to like absorb stuff, and then some people are going as a professional capacity and want to go to network and go to those sort of industry conference things.
Yeah, and I was trying to do both.
It's hard. It's hard. More power to you.
Well, I think my biggest issue with it was the fact that I was trying to do it over the course of 2 days, and Sunday, obviously, and that's not to say that diminishes the amount of things that were there, because Sunday was still very, very busy, but Sunday has less stuff to do at that point, and everything. But I definitely found myself enjoying the end of the day and the and the morning of Sunday quite a bit, for that reason. But I think that was probably my biggest takeaway, is just pacing myself for next year. Making sure that I still, for me, because I'm a very schedule-oriented person, having a schedule, but making sure that like I do have time for breaks and eating, and I'm not only having 15 minutes, because when we went to Subway, I had 10 minutes to eat, and I had to book it to the next thing, kind of thing. But I'm trying to think. I agree with the smaller pods thing. I think also just being very educated on, obviously you go to GenCon and different conventions in general just to see new things and to have an experience and everything like that. I think something I probably could have benefited from it more was being more educated about the different groups and different systems that were going to be there. Because
I know you're giving yourself pre-homework.
But I think I would have had a lot better engagement with a lot of and more buy-in necessarily to certain things that I wanted to do. I think I may have just said this to Liz, but I really, really want to do more demos next year. I had such a blast kind of getting to sit down and just play a game and stuff like that, and I didn't get to do that a ton this year and everything like that. But to the credit of the people who held the seminars that I went to, they were very informative, very great, and interesting to listen to. But I, wanted to also have fun. Not to say those aren't fun in their own respect, but I was excited about gaming and everything too. So that is definitely something I think I'm going to, especially over the course of 4 days next year, probably prioritize a little bit more.
And I think to that point, like being able to do it for 4 days next year is going to be really great, because I'm already thinking in my mind, right? Saturday is the biggest day of the con every year. Saturday is always the one that's the busiest, and Saturday was where we started. So I could see a world where like we try to do most of our shopping on Thursday. We do our exhibit hall stuff on Thursday. Friday we go to more event style things, do demos. Saturday maybe we're only there for the morning and we just do something in the afternoon as a group. And then Sunday we go back and see all, because that's the other thing. On Sunday a lot of booths have discounts on their items because they are trying
they don't
to
want to take them home
with less stuff. So I this was crazy to me. Dungeon Crawl Classics had their source books for $10. This is a 500-page book, and it was $10. I was amazed. I was like, wow, I should have picked one up, but I didn't. I was a silly guy.
I
One
think
comment
those
on
were
that.
cheaper than they were initially, because I remember going there with one of our other friends initially, and I think they charged him, not, I wouldn't say an arm and a leg, but I don't know if that was the place he got
A lot.
swindled. Backward
Yes.
swindled
Yeah.
at.
One thing to keep in mind, like, you know, I know it's just an example of, but I would not recommend planning to do all of your like exhibitor hall stuff on, or like artist alley stuff on Thursday, because like I said, Saturday's the biggest day of the con. There's a lot of people who are only there Saturday, Sunday. So like you're gonna want to stop in and make room, save money for that, because, or even like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because Thursday is always like the really chill day. People are like just picking up their badges, hanging out, doing stuff. But like, no, after going a couple times, if I ever go back there, really, I'm only ever interested in going to the artist alley. I miss going to cons. I want to go to the artist alley. I want to get some cool prints. I want to get some cool merch. That's really what I have found. I went to ASIN like a million years ago when I was in high school. Anime Central in Rosemont. That's all I really want to do. Like, I've been to the panels, I've done the cosplaying. I'm like, I just want to talk to artists.
I know Liz and one of our other friends really enjoyed the artist alley, and I did too when I had gone through it. I am not I did not budget as well as Devin and Liz did, so I was a little bit on a smaller budget, but no, like all of the stuff was so gorgeous. I got to stop by the booth where they the artist had been the artist for A Quarter Fane Flowers over on
Nice.
Dimension 20 and stuff like that. And their art, oh my gosh, like all their other stuff was super, super cool. There was this artist that does like very painterly style play mats and stuff like that, which I really enjoyed too. And they also had right next to the artist alley, they had a book alley as well.
Oh, neat. Yeah, because there's a lot of artists that go.
Yes, I bought books there before. It's really cool.
That was really cool to see. I liked that a lot.
Usually they're kind of like, I've seen them like kind of mixed in, and it's hard to parse through, but that's cool that they get their own little space.
Yeah, they really have it set up too. It's really cool.
I will say, Wormwood was wild. They had like tables there that you could buy and stuff like that, like full on tables. And I was like, what the hell? But also that's cool kind of thing.
Also, the funny thing to me about that was that a lot of the big players, the big publishers were spread out across the exhibit hall, but all the furniture makers were right next to each other, which I thought was really interesting.
They probably, just categorically, it's like easier to find people if you're all there. And then they all probably got to chat and talk shop.
Honestly, my biggest, I don't know, not like regret because it wasn't my fault, but like the biggest thing that I mourned during COVID was the fact that Nerdsmith was supposed to have a big meetup and like a booth and like do this really big thing for WonderCon in 2020, and I was so upset I didn't get to meet people. I really want to work a booth at a con like so bad. Like I have a lot of artist friends. I'm like, please, I will work the booth.
We can talk about it for next year if you want to come with us.
Oh God. I might have
as far as like a Nerdsmith thing, I think we're still like recovering from the PTSD of 2020 of trying to organize one. But like we were talking WonderCon, personally, I think we're better off going to something a little smaller. One, financially, and two, crowd-wise. I think we are a network that I think you're gonna find a lot more people in like the right vibe to want to talk to a small network at a smaller convention. Because you go to Comic-Con, you're gonna be like, people are gonna be like dealing with big companies there.
Yeah,
I agree and disagree at the same time.
That's okay.
I found a lot of my genuine, and Devin was with me for the majority of this, but I found a lot of my good conversations with people that weren't necessarily like super big content creators and stuff like that, and they were in the exhibit hall and stuff like that. I found like they were more willing to, like, you'd walk by, nobody's at their booth, they're kind of smiling, and you're like, hey, how you doing? Are you having a good day? And like, if they have some cool products, that's the thing that you engage with, and you're like, tell me more about it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's good.
I am of the personal belief, especially with people who are more extroverted. I can be extroverted when I need to be, but I'm also very introverted when I want to be. And stuff like that.
Oh, that's just called being a friendly introvert. Like, yeah, I 100%, but like people exhaust me. Like in the long term.
But I will say for people who have done extensive I wouldn't say necessarily convention, but like conference style stuff. I think we're I don't want to speak for Devin necessarily, but I feel like we are definitely very equipped for that kind of style of things, and everything like that. And I've also did a lot of volunteer work throughout my my resume, for lack of a better term. So I've had a lot of crowd and endurance within that sort of thing. But
so
I mean,
maybe my main point is about price, the price point.
Sure, no, and that's a later conversation and stuff like that. But I think that would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Aw, shucks. But I will say I really enjoyed getting to talk to different vendors and stuff like that. So I think that I've had that untapped market for us, and I think that would be very fun to do.
I had an absolute blast the couple of cons that I went to with that express purpose. So it was Rose City and WonderCon were both really cool experiences talking with people. Yeah, we had a good time. And my husband wore a dog onesie at our event because we had a party. The Nerdsmith, we had our Nerdsmith meet and greet or whatever it was. It was like we had our party get together where we got a room and we were all hanging out at the convention center. It was really, really fun. But like, that was the first time I talked to anybody that was like, oh my God, you played Syl? I love Syl. You were great. You're great. And I'm like, you know who I am? That's weird. Okay, hi. And that was pre Cantata too. It was just really weird.
The chat,
but
awesome. Nerdsmith at GenCon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I think GenCon's a good. T-shirts. I think GenCon's a good.
We'll add the FWIW shirts to Nerdsmith.
Yes.
The what?
That's you wouldn't get it.
You had to be there. Apparently.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll tell you about it when we're not on stream. And
I'm not cool enough.
My family's
just a little guy.
No, you're good. I'll tell you about it later. I promise. But
I'll tell you when you're older.
No, literally. But no, I think that would be something that would be really cool. That is obviously a later conversation and everything like that. But if we do have news, WIW for life. But if we do have news of that in the future, because I'm not gonna rest my case.
No,
I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, that's definitely a plan the year before because you have to do all the table reservation and stuff. But I'm down.
Yeah. So, but with that being said, I'm trying to last minute takeaways, last minute things that you kind of want to shout out about Gen Con or anything like that. I really enjoyed the kids' room, not going in, but sitting outside of it and watching the toddlers beat up the inflatable dragon.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
Oh, I don't know if y'all saw this or heard anything about it, but like when I was there in 2019, my partner at the time went to like a literal like fantasy sword fighting like instruction thing.
Cool.
They got some cool shit over there.
I did not see that.
Remember that? I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, they got tons of stuff like that. It's super cool. But to your question, Allorah, but my main takeaway is, I mean, I just want to go again. I think this was like the demo for me. This was like the 1 hour, like, you know, I don't know.
Your 1 hour Pathfinder session.
Very obscure thing. Well, yeah, I mean, it was just, like, it was just the, like, if you ever remember going into like a Target or a GameStop and they used to have the game console booths where you could play a game for like 20 minutes, that's what Gen Con was this year for me. And I want the full thing. and I want to go again next year with all the good stuff that happened and all the bad stuff that happened. So I would say that's my takeaway.
We need to train in IKEA.
God.
So fun fact about me, I've never been to IKEA.
It's stressful as
There's a
fuck.
huge 4-story one by me. Come here.
I will totally.
They're stressful as fuck, and either go in without any expectations of buying anything, or go in knowing exactly what you're gonna get and pick it up and leave.
I mean, in totality, over the weekend, I think I ended up spending less than $200 for
That's great.
products.
Good job.
I feel very good about my budgetary needs there. And stuff like that. So I'm not too worried about that. But yes, IKEA trip in the near future.
Sometimes you run into issues where like you're at the con and you're like, but I don't know if I can get this online, if this is like a con exclusive thing. Like, do I need to spend the money here?
That was definitely a concern for a few things. I know that I didn't necessarily have, but I know a few other people did. So we very much made I know one of our friends like freaking sprinted to a booth on the Sunday because they only had like 40 copies of the game that they wanted. And stuff like that. So they ended up getting it, but it was definitely a very competitive market. But yeah, no, I agree, Devin. I'm very excited for next year. And I think my biggest takeaway was I was excited and very pleased and happy to walk away with a good con experience.
That's great. Yeah. That is so good to hear.
Me too.
Cons are hopefully, positive and affirming experiences, especially for people who are in like small creator lifestyles like we are. And I look forward to eventually making my way to another one. The last time I went was Dragon Con in Atlanta, which I really do enjoy, but instead of being in one place, it's in multiple hotels downtown. So you have to like walk between buildings to get to places. That's no.
I mean, GenCon was like that a little bit, but there were skywalks, like Devin mentioned
That's
earlier.
Good.
Yeah,
and all the hotels were right next to the convention center. So, I was mentioning before stream to Devin that it was funny because they had over the loudspeaker when the exhibit hall was opening. They had like this person basically announced that it's opening and don't shove each other or you're gonna get got by the badge police kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but me and my other friend didn't hear it the first day because we were actually in a hotel during our seminar.
Oh my god!
So when I was waiting for one of my games and that went off, and I just went, "God, hello." But no, but it was really good. So I don't know if I have too much else, but it was really great chatting about all of this, and maybe we can have like a mid-year check-in and see what our progress is on planning or something like that.
Yeah,
especially with like more announcements and stuff like that coming out.
Yeah, would love to have you. If you want to have it on the stream, if you want to just have it, that's also 100% awesome.
Both.
So yeah, unless anybody has any other like takeaways or things they want to prompt with for discussion about, I guess, cons in general, but Gen Con specifically, feel free to pop them into the chat or Franz.
Yeah, hi. None about Gen Con. I'm gonna let people. I'm gonna vamp for a few minutes to give people time to drop whatever the hell they need to.
Cool, go for it.
I have one request from my co-hosts. Can I talk about the upcoming schedule for the next week or so?
Sure, go for it.
About it. You can talk about the upcoming.
Do schedule. It. Catch us before we should be putting 5 minutes aside at the end of episodes.
I usually do, but like I just wanted to be the one who does it
this
time because I love talking about this. I am really passionate, as you can tell. So today, obviously, was DRPG talking about Gen Con with Devin. So glad to have you here, Devin.
Heck yeah.
Tuesday, Bag World's still on hiatus. I lost my train of thought. Thursday is Hollow Rock, and if you have not been watching Hollow Rock, you
Franz
are
has been
making
on
a
a
mistake.
tear.
Listen. You have made a terrible mistake. You need to go watch Hollow Rock. First of all, it's run by Lane. It's a kids on bike adventure. It's about Faye in the early 2000s in the Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
Yes. So it's run by Lane, who is a big part of the network in general. You'll see them around everywhere. They're on our Strahd panel. I love her to death. She's so good. The VODs are up on Twitch. The first one is up on YouTube, and the highlights. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, you're wrong. But go watch the highlights. They're only about 30 minutes each. I just put the second one for episode 2 up. We have an amazing fucking cast, by the way.
Really
We
cool.
got Kyle, who is a founding member of the network, did a lot of shenanigans. We got Ben. We got Ben Vincible from Roleplay Recon, which is a partner podcast with us. Oh God, why am I forgetting everyone else? Noir, he hasn't been on the first 2 ones, but he's coming in this week for Thursday, the Noir Enigma. And then we have Maury. Good old Memento Morrigan. She's playing Ashley. It's really great group. I'm really excited. I love it so much. I produce it, but I am paying attention and enjoying myself every time.
I'm putting the link into the chat, so if anybody wants to check out the playlist, which the episodes and the highlights need to get popped into that playlist, but it does have the first episode and the first highlight reel, so you should check those out.
Yeah, I need to upload the second one. But that's going to be Thursday. That's going to be same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern. Then Friday, we're back with Dragon's Crown. We're going to have a little bit of a divergent fuck around episode. It's going to be really fun. Well, not a shopping episode. We've had one of those. One of the deck of many things is coming to fruition.
Oh no!
One of the card draws.
I'm excited and scared.
It's so good. It's gonna be so good. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Also, it's gonna be Jay's birthday. Jay plays Valazir, so
there. Thank you. I just felt like I needed to put that up.
Well, happy early birthday to Jay from the stream.
Yay!
Oh my God, yes, you gotta come on Friday. That's 6:30 p.m. Pacific and 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I have so niceys to him, but everyone else is getting fucked up.
I will come to celebrate Jay's birthday.
Hell yes. One quick note about Dragon's Crown. We're gonna have a regular quote unquote episode this week. Next Friday.
Such animal. What are you talking about?
25th. We're not having stream. That's an off Friday for us. And then September 1st, we're gonna do a save point episode, and then we're gonna dive into this dungeon. I'm like, I don't want to take us a week hiatus in the middle of this huge dungeon.
Save points are my favorite thing that we came up with. They're really fun.
I'm really excited. So, Ange, we have first of all, let's address the chat. Hi, chat. Anything fun we want to talk about? Has anyone said anything in the chat? Hi, chat.
We've had a couple of comments. Though, just letting you know, I will post it into the thing here, but there is an ad break coming up in 5 minutes. But we'll be gone before then. Not really. I doubt it. So some of the comments that we had were, let's see. Devin, you made a really fun point there that look into local gaming conventions, regional ones, or even more local than that. It's a good chance to get to know your local community, because that's where you make the most impact. And test the waters of going to gaming conventions, so you kind of get the idea of what they feel like. Like going to a Ren fair, Some of the Ren fairs are smaller, some of them are fucking huge. I very much appreciate that.
I have a couple
snooze
things to
thanks, Fran.
To shout out, if you don't mind, on tacking onto Franz's stuff. If you don't follow us already, you should go follow us on our TikTok. I can drop it in the chat here in a moment, but we have been posting highlights from our different streams. They're very funny, and they're very well edited, of course. But they're fantastic.
Toss.
They are. This is all true. It's all true. No lies.
But no, I definitely recommend it.
Did my edit end up on there? The one with the one that was on YouTube, or do I need to send that to you?
You need to send that to me so I can do it.
I got you.
But yeah, no, go check us out on TikTok. We are Nerdsmith. Our official @ is literally we are Nerdsmith. So
yep,
good chat.
We've decided to make that our brand because people keep taking Nerdsmith. And never using it.
It's a good name,
but never using it. They're wasting it. Wasted
more
potential.
Things are doing the inactive account deletion rule. Google's doing it now. Eventually, we'll be able to recoup those good usernames that haven't been used.
We'll see. I mean, at a certain point, it won't matter on the Bird app, because that
my adult fiction app. X.
Your adult fiction app.
But yes, no. But to my point, definitely check us out. There are fun highlight clips. And yeah, we're definitely we'll engage with you and everything. It'll be super fun. Let's see. We here at DRPG are specifically sponsored by Grinding Coffee. Grinding Coffee is a Black-owned LGBTQ business that sells coffee and coffee subscriptions. They're super awesome. They currently have this really awesome brand in their blend in their shop called
They do have an awesome brand, but
yes, also they also just updated their brand, so you should go check it out. But they have a blend called Cult Classic, which I really like. It's just the traditional like chocolate and caramel. It's super yummy and super awesome. But if you use the code DRPG, you can get 10% off your order. I may or may not have shown this to Liz. Devin, I am so sorry.
Devin's about to be our coffee correspondent.
But no, it is it's really awesome, and you guys should go check it out.
And you get 10% off if you use our the coupon code DRPG. Woo.
Yeah, I said that.
Do it. Boop. Sorry, I was reading a message from Franz in the DMs.
It's important.
It was important. So I have not yet, because I'm procrastinator. I have not yet determined when, but keep an eye on this space this week, because I'm going to be testing out some streams that I'm going to be doing. I have a painting stream that I'm going to do, a mini painting stream. I have an otter who's going to turn into a certain white feroce that Kyle may or may not have originated.
Do you want to specify that you are painting minis? The stream itself is not going to be small.
It's an enormous stream running for 15 hours. No, it's gonna be a couple hours. I'll be painting minis on stream. I've been working on getting a setup that actually will be fun for that. I don't have a name for the show, so if somebody wants to give me a name, as an example, the other stream I'm going to be working on, because some of you may or may not know, because we haven't been doing Tuesdays, Hero Forge just came out last week while I was on vacation and only had a phone to work with. Released the beta of the face customizer, which we've been waiting with bated breath for almost a year, and I'm so excited. And it's really, really cool. And because it's the beta, it can only get even better from now. And I will be running Hero Forge facelifts, which is my stream where I will be updating the faces or doing face claims of some of the D&D characters that my players have. I asked them all for their face claims so that I had a nice big batch of characters to start with. But I'll be updating and tweaking and trying to, basically like character creation in a video game, but with Hero Forge. So I'll be doing that and the painting stream at some point. But if you subscribe to us on Twitter, Fuck you, Musk. It's called Twitter. If you subscribe to us on Twitter or you do it on Twitch, you'll follow us in either spot. You'll get updates when I go live with that. They're gonna be really experimental for maybe the first week or two, just while I figure out the time slot that's gonna work for me on the regular. But yeah, come hang out. It'll be super fun and weird and chaotic and yeah.
Last thing. If you are into face customization and all that jazz, and Baldur's Gate has you by a chokehold, come check us out next week, Monday, 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST. We're gonna be playing with Blabby Gabby, and we're gonna have an extended stream, and we're gonna be doing a 4-party Baldur's Gate, which I'm super fucking excited.
I assume we're doing it in character, right?
You have your RAM. What?
I assume we're playing in character. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to decide. You know what? I was thinking for the multiplayer, I might do Leosin. I might
really
pull an NPC
upset.
from Dragon's Crown.
That's cool. I'm really upset that I'm playing so much with poetry and I don't want to stop because she's perfect for this. Well, and all of my other PCs are like weird races that are not represented in the game, and so it's hard. I was like, I want to be Lady Enith, damn it, let me be a bugbear. It's fine. I'm fine.
Well,
it's fine.
But if you once we've decided on our characters, if you want to join us next week, we would love to have you guys. It is at the same time as the stream. We will just be going a little bit longer because 2 hours is not enough time.
Are we starting early?
No, we're starting at the same time.
Normal time. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
We'll just be going a little bit later. So
let's see if our computers blow up. It'll be great.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much again for joining us, Devin. It has been a blast talking about Gen Con, and thank you for sitting through our ridiculously long suspension of ads.
We try to make it try to make it brief, but it never turns into a brief thing. So
no.
But yeah. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Mwah! Everyone have a great week, great rest of your night. Be smart, be safe, make good choices, and above all, do us all a favor and be good to each other. Bye.
No,
bye.
Bye-bye now.
Hold yourself. I want all of you to get ready to stop.